Hey lovelies, welcome to another video. Cycle 12. This cycle was just, yeah, I can't even express. It was amazing because I honestly did not expect the results. And I'll explain a little bit later why I didn't expect it, but yeah. So I thought I would do the video that everyone has been asking for. I keep getting questions about it and I've wanted to do this actually quite a while, but things happen and it's market season for me as well, so I have been running around like crazy. I have a market this afternoon actually, so fun times. So cycle 12, the differences I have to say were not necessarily, oh, I tried a new supplement or I changed this and this. It was more so perspective. It was more so the way I handled things. It was more so the way we actually went about TTCing. So let me explain. First things first, tracking. So when it came to tracking ovulation, throughout my TTC journey, I always used ovulation tests. Now I used to use the digital ovulation tests as well as strip tests. I kind of went all in. I could see that I was ovulating. There seemed to be no issue with ovulation and I had crazy regular cycles. So again, many issues kind of popped up throughout the journey, and I reached a point in this past cycle where I just felt like I was tired of dipping ovulation tests. I was tired of starting dipping from cycle day 7 or 8 and just kind of continuing until cycle day 18. And the funny thing is that when I dipped ovulation tests, I would usually stop baby dancing the moment I got my surge. It just kind of always worked out that way. And because I knew that the next day was ovulation, you know, we never continued baby dancing basically. We never continued trying past a positive OPK. It just kind of always worked out that way. And there was always this kind of back thought that I didn't want anything bad to happen if conception occurred. So that also kind of stopped us from doing anything. This cycle, however, I didn't track. I didn't feel like tracking. I felt like I knew what cycle day I was most of the time. I still had my app. I still had an idea that I usually ovulate around cycle day 12 to 15. Cycle day 15 being the most norm for me, but cycle days 12, 13, 14 always being a possibility. Around, like, I usually know to track my cervical mucus. I know how to track, like, I usually get pains before ovulation. Like, there are many things that happen that kind of show me that, oh look, you've ovulated. I always just, I thought, you know what, I'm sick and tired of dipping tests for ovulation. I'm just not going to do it this cycle because it's always the same story. So I kind of resigned myself in a way. I was like, it's just going to be the same result. So what's the point in putting myself through the process of dipping tests every morning? Just kind of didn't want to put myself through that process. I felt like I needed a break from that. However, at the same time, I still knew about what cycle day I was. I still knew, like, when cycle day 11 came around and I had egg white cervical mucus, I still knew to think that, oh, I might be ovulating soon. Of course, when my cervical mucus vanished on cycle day 12, I found that extremely odd, but we continued as because I didn't get a surge, because I didn't see a positive ovulation test, there was nothing really putting a stop. Like, there was nothing to say to us, okay, you've ovulated, now you can stop. I didn't get the pains I usually get. What I did get was light cramping on cycle day 13. So again, that was kind of odd. Now what happened this cycle was we actually continued baby dancing up until that cramping point. And we stopped because other things happened. It kind of just happened that way. But I took it, which is why I actually took a test, an ovulation test on cycle day 14, which was actually negative. So I kind of expected it to be positive, thinking that I would ovulate on cycle day 15. However, it seemed I had already ovulated. So that was one thing. So as far as tracking ovulation, that kind of is what happened. The fact that I just kind of got tired of testing, and it allowed us to baby dance more than we would have if I had been testing. Because I imagine I would have gotten a positive on cycle day 11 probably. Cycle day 12, I'm not 100% sure. My dating scan will clarify that. That was the weird part about this cycle, that we were able to actually enjoy the baby dancing way more because we didn't know when I was ovulating. So I felt that that was a very big and vital part of this cycle's success, that we just didn't know. I had a general idea, But honestly, at times I forgot what cycle day it was. So literally there were moments when I had no idea what cycle day it was. We didn't baby dance because, oh, it's this day in the cycle, so we have to. It was clearly a matter of just when we felt like it. We also got a chance to have some time together alone when my daughter actually spent some time at my brother's house. So that helped out a lot, I believe. Because when you have other children as well, and you're also trying to conceive, it kind of puts that extra little pressure on you, because you're always like waiting till bedtime, you're waiting till nap time. There's never another time. Like, you're always you're usually tired. It's usually at a point where you're tired, and it's just, you know, like, it's the only time we got. So I feel like that also made a big difference this cycle as well. Now, another thing that was different this cycle also was the fact that I was taking my multivitamins, I was taking my iron supplements. I made sure that I was pretty much on top of vitamins and everything that my body needed, because in previous cycles I had tried, but you know, I never really got around to taking multivitamins, etc. My iron levels were really, really low. I had iron deficiency, which is now perfectly fine. It has come up to a normal level as long as I keep on with my multivitamins. And I feel like that also played a huge part, meaning you really need to look after your body, and you really need to listen and pay attention. Because, for example, I wouldn't have gone and checked my iron levels if my periods hadn't been one day long. My periods just getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and I realized that there was something wrong. You also need to pay attention to your body and its signs and just what's going on. Because I really feel like the period I got right before this cycle, basically, technically this cycle's period, was the first like real period I have had in a few months. So that says a lot. Obviously, the vitamins and everything changed and fixed something that was causing issues with my fertility. Now, the final part, and I feel the most important, was perspective this cycle. So something that happened this cycle was I felt like I had moments where I was really sad, and I felt that how disappointing it was that I still hadn't given my daughter a sibling, and it just kind of hurt at times. And then I had moments where I kind of resigned myself to the fact that obviously it wasn't going to work for whatever reason, and we might need to look into other things and try and find different solutions and see what was going on, which is why I went in to do my progesterone as well. Now, my husband also resigned himself a bit, and I think it wasn't actually, resign is probably not the right word. I think it's more so that we just kind of allowed ourselves to be okay with the fact that we might not be able to conceive right now. Because my husband told me, and I think I mentioned this during my testing before I got my positive this cycle, that he was okay if we didn't manage to have another child, that it would be okay because we had our little girl. And I feel like that kind of took the pressure off of us as well, because we were both okay with where we are, and we were okay with the fact that maybe for whatever reason this wasn't happening right now, and you know, if for whatever reason it never did happen, we were still happy, we would still be okay. And I feel like that, she's singing in the background, I feel like that took a lot of pressure off of the whole process, because we felt that it was okay. When we were baby dancing and when we were just kind of, you know, enjoying the cycle and just doing our thing, it wasn't necessarily thinking that we were making a baby. And I think that also made a huge difference, because when you think of it as making a baby, you also lose the intimacy, you lose so many other things. Relationships can actually break down due to TTC. That's a whole other topic that we will discuss at a later time, but taking the pressure off. And then I also we reached that point, I believe, where we just knew that it was either going to happen or it was not. And if it did, that is awesome. If it didn't, then there's always other solutions, and we do have our little one. We just kind of took the pressure off ourselves. I keep saying it because I just want to emphasize that a lot of people, a lot of women specifically, put so much pressure on themselves to have a baby. There's so much pressure on, you have to have a baby now, or you have to have a baby by the time you're 25, by the time you're 30, by the time you're 35, or there are so many like time frames and limits and when we have to do things, and we have to, you know, you have to realize that the process involved in having a baby, there are so many things that play a part in fertility. Fertility, your mental state can alter your fertility. So I feel that the fact that my mental state changed a lot this cycle, to a point where I was happy as I was, and I still wanted it more than anything. That had nothing to do with it, but I also accepted the fact that I was also going to be okay if I didn't get what I wanted. If there's anything I want you guys to take from this video, it's look after yourselves and allow yourselves the time. So allow yourselves the time to conceive. It could take several months, it could take years. It's hard because our bodies function so differently. So every body is different, and your body may not be ready to get pregnant right now, but it will be in a few months, or in a year, or in 2 years. Sometimes we want to do things and we don't realize that we're putting time frames and we're setting limits, and we're kind of keeping ourselves in a box, trying to do something. And the fact that we're actually putting ourselves in that box of trying to work within the limits is what is actually stopping us from achieving what we want. I say look after yourself. Know that it will happen. You will get your baby. You will conceive. You will carry and birth your baby. But you also need to be okay with it not happening right now, not happening next cycle, not happening within the next few months. I hope I'm making sense, guys. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. It was a difficult cycle because I was so used to seeing the negatives, and I was literally expecting negatives. Like, I just kind of got into this mindset of, yeah, well, it's the usual kind of, you know, the usual thing is going to happen. I will admit I wasn't crazy about the fact that I didn't know how many DPI was exactly, and I was kind of kicking myself when I got my positive because I'm not 100% sure when I ovulated. It's either cycle day 12 or cycle day 13, one of the two. It was an interesting cycle, and a very mentally altering cycle at that. So anyway, I don't want to drag this video out anymore, and I have a market to get to, and oh my god, it's also going to be raining today. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and supporting me. And if you have any more questions, please just leave them in the comments down below. I will try and answer them. I might just do another Q&A. Yeah, I'll figure out ways to answer your questions, I promise. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.